Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, back again with Sherlock. Last time on Sherlock, we had his last vow, where Sherlock faced off against Charles Augustus Magnuson, who had basically dirt on literally everyone everywhere, and he was the Napoleon of blackmail, if you will. And his ultimate goal was to basically own Mycroft, excuse me. His ultimate goal was to own Mycroft, and to do that, you needed his pressure point, which is Sherlock. Sherlock's pressure point is John Watson. John Watson's pressure point is his wife, Mary. We also learned some things about Mary, how Mary used to be an assassin, which is how Magnuson got dirt on her. And then he seemed to be in the clear. He seemed to, have everything. He had everything on everyone, and he was gonna just rule the world. And then Sherlock just killed him, He just killed him, and that was that. So, and then at the end, Sherlock was going to be sent into exile for the murder and go do some work for MI6. However, he was immediately recalled back to England after it appeared that Moriarty was still alive. Oh, also, I almost forgot. Apparently there is something else after the credits of the last episode. I don't think it's actually much that I missed, but let me just look at it right now, real quick.
Miss me?
Wow, I really did not miss anything. That's funny. Because some of you guys told me about something I could have potentially missed something, but I did get the real reveal of Moriarty. But I guess I missed that little tiny smidgen at the end. Miss me. So yeah, we're moving on to the Christmas special. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Why don't we?
Miss me?
So, see, now I'm glad I watched that. There you go. Alternatively... Oh, no.
Stamford, remember?
Wait a minute.
We were at Bart's together.
Yes, of course.
He's from the first episode. Wait a minute.
Good Lord.
I need a place to live. Somewhere decent at an affordable price. It's not easy.
This is episode 1 all over again.
Oh, and the name is Sherlock Holmes, and the address is 221B Baker Street.
Yes. He's always been like that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, they even did that for the intro. Oh, the stash, the curly Q stash. This is crazy. It's they're doing an actual Sherlock episode, basically.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Holmes!
And it's Christmas. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like, man, I just expect Ebenezer Scrooge to walk by at some point. Look at this. That's the same street too. You can tell.
Don't feel singled out, Mrs. Hudson. I'm hardly in the dog one.
The dog one?
I'm your landlady,
The Hound?
not a plot device.
Do you mean the Hound of the Baskervilles?
You make the room so drab and dingy.
Oh, blame it on the illustrator. He's out of control. I've had to grow this moustache just so people will recognise me.
Oh my
Over
gosh.
the many years it has been my privilege to record the exploits of my remarkable friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
So everything has still happened. It's just the 1800s.
From the beginning, then.
Whoa!
You!
Ah!
No, please.
His bride is packing. Whoa. Oh, I love that.
When was this?
Oh, me.
Did she kill herself? Huh.
Really, Lestrade.
Forget me.
She's alive.
As beautiful as the day you married me.
This is just like Moriarty, actually.
It's a shotgun wedding.
Huh.
campaign, you know.
Oh, yeah. Campaign?
Votes for women.
And you for or against?
Get out.
Yeah. Poor Mary. M. Immediately.
Mrs. Hudson?
It's like a text
Tell
message.
my husband I'll be home late.
Holmes.
Goodbye.
You. Back to work.
Huh.
So, come to astonish us with your magic tricks, I suppose.
Is there anything to which you would like to draw my attention?
Nothing at all, Mr. Holmes.
That is Molly.
You may leave.
Gun in the mouth. Bullet through the brain. Back of the head blown clean off.
That's what happened to Moriarty.
How could he survive?
Yeah. I love this. Dr. John Watson. Come at once, if convenient. If inconvenient, come at all the same. Oh my gosh. I love that instead of text messages, it's telegrams. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. You are very ugly. Very ugly. I'm glad you like my potato. Yes, needs work, Watson. Oh my god.
To anyone who wishes to study mankind, these enemies are everywhere. Socialists? Not socialists, Doctor.
Socialists?
Anarchists? No. The
No.
French?
The French.
Suffragists?
Blast! Useless!
That is a bride.
You will die.
Sounds like Ventress.
My husband is not bait, Mr. Holmes.
Nobody could be if we play our cards right. Now, listen. You must go home immediately. Dr. Watson and I will follow on the next train. There's not a moment to lose. Sir Eustace is to die tonight.
Holmes.
And we should probably avoid that.
Definitely.
Definitely
Yes.
avoid that.
Avoid it.
She's an hysteric, prone to fancies.
No.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said no. She's not an hysteric. She's a highly intelligent woman of rare perception.
My wife sees terror in an orange pip.
Your wife can see worlds where no one else can see anything of value whatsoever.
Can she really?
He does value
And
intelligence.
how do you?
Did you bring a revolver?
What good would that be against a ghost?
Exactly. Did you bring it? Of course. Come, Watson. Come.
Bring his revolver.
The game is afoot.
Ah, the game is afoot.
You're a living, breathing man. You've lived a life. You have a past.
What?
Well, you must have had,
And what?
you know,
No.
A crush.
experiences.
Pass me your revolver. I have a sudden need to use it.
Damn it, Holmes, you are flesh and blood. You have feelings. You must have impulses.
Dear Lord, I have never been so impatient to be attacked by a murderous ghost.
As your
Yeah.
friend, as someone who... What are we to do?
Ugh. That is
Why don't we have a
terrifying.
chat?
Yeah, let's go talk.
You promise to keep him safe. You promise.
He's already dead. Now it is a murder case. Ah! She's behind you! Oh, she just moved. She didn't walk.
There's a message tied to the dash. You must have seen it.
There's no message.
Yes.
There was no message when I found the body.
Huh. Miss me. Moriarty.
Moriarty's dead.
And yet,
His body was never recovered.
to be expected when one pushes a maths professor over a waterfall. Pure reason toppled by sheer melodrama.
I love that this is just still an episode in canon. It just happens to be the 1800s.
Just to clean it out.
Sherlock's is bigger.
The bride put a gun in her mouth and shot the back of her head off, and then she came back. Impossible.
Is this
But
all
she
still
did
in
it.
his mind palace?
And
It's the landing.
Oh, we're back.
We've landed.
No.
This has all been in his mind palace.
It was a case, a famous one from 100 years ago. Lodged in my hard drive. She seemed to be dead, but then she came back.
Huh.
Moriarty.
Shot herself in the head, exactly like Moriarty.
But you've only just been told. We've only just found out. He's on every TV screen in the country.
Yes, so? It's been 5 minutes since Mycroft called. What progress have you made? What have you been doing?
More to the point, what have you been doing?
I've been in my mind palace, of course.
Of course.
Running an experiment.
The
How would I
whole
solve the
thing.
crime if I'd been there in
Brilliant.
1895?
Did you make a list?
You put on weight. That waistcoat's clearly newer than the
Stop
jacket.
this. Just stop it. Did you make a list?
Of what?
Everything, Sherlock. Everything you've taken.
No, it's not that. He goes into a sort of trance. I've seen him do it.
There'll always be a list.
He couldn't have taken all that in the last 5 minutes.
He was high before he got on the plane.
Didn't seem high.
Nobody deceives like an addict.
Not an addict. I'm a user.
Oh.
Alleviate boredom.
Which is it today? Morphine or cocaine? Holmes? Morphine or cocaine? Which is it today?
Oh,
Answer me, damn it.
he's back.
This one. Why? You're Sherlock Holmes. Wear the damn hat.
This is really interesting. I love that this is all still in the canon.
The heart of the conspiracy.
Is it like a cult?
Sorry, I can never resist the gong or a touch of the dramatic.
Never
Yeah.
guessed.
She places one of the revolvers in her mouth while actually firing the other into the ground. An accomplice sprays the curtains with blood, and thus her apparent suicide is witnessed by the frightened crowd below.
Oh.
The late Mrs. Ricoletti has returned from the grave and a little skilled makeup, and you have nothing less than the wrath of a vengeful ghost.
Interesting.
The invisible army hovering at our elbows, tending to our homes, raising our children, ignored, patronized, disregarded, not allowed so much as a vote.
Oh.
There were clear signs of consumption. I doubt she was long for this world.
So she decided to make her death count.
Okay.
A simple reflection in glass of a living, breathing person. Their only
Oh.
mistake, a spectre to stalk those unpunished brutes whose reckoning is long overdue.
Interesting.
A league of furies awakened. Why engage me to prevent a murder you intended to commit?
doesn't quite make sense. Doesn't quite make sense.
Of course it doesn't make sense. It's not real.
Moriarty. Ah!
Moriarty? Back from the dead?
Oh. Whoa. Oh, they all see that. Wait, what?
Oh, I see. Still not awake, am I?
Oh. He's still not awake. That's why.
But when it comes to the matter of unarmed combat on the edge of the precipice,
Yeah.
you're going in the water. Short ass.
Yeah, but this is in your mind. It could go against you, man.
At the end, it's always just you and me.
Oh. And John Watson.
That's not fair. There's two of you.
This is getting out the pond.
Don't you read the Strand? So what's he like? The other me, in the other place.
Smarter than he looks.
Pretty damn smart then.
Pretty damn smart.
Ugh, why don't you two just elope, for God's sake?
Impertinent.
Bye, Moriarty.
It was my turn.
But,
Tuh.
between you and me, John, I always survive a fall.
But how?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Yes!
Moriarty is dead. No question. More importantly, I know exactly what he's going to do next.
Huh. We're fighting contingency plans now.
But perhaps such things could come to pass. But then I've always known I was a man out of his time.
I like that kind of bookend it with them. Good transition. I like he's labeled, Moriarty's labeled as Professor Moriarty. Alright. Looks like there's nothing at the end of this one. What a brilliant episode, I have to say. Like, that was really, really good. So, I like that it all worked in, you know? Like, at first I thought it was just like, okay, well, it's in canon, technically. Like, all the adventures have happened. It's just set in the 1800s because they felt like it. Although I'm sure that was kind of the idea. It's like, hey, let's actually have one of these set in... This one says 1895. So, I feel like the general idea was, hey, let's have this set in 1895. But to tie it in still with the canon is incredible. And then the fact that it is all even more within canon. It's not just, well, they just set the story in 1895, but they actually set it within the story right after his last vow. Like, right after that, Sherlock goes into this whole thing in his mind. That is pretty crazy, you know? I mean, it's just brilliant, you know? It's just brilliant that they actually had this in the canon, so much to the fact that this was all in Sherlock's mind palace, and that he had to solve this case in 1895. It's just, that's incredible, you know? So, we can go ahead and hop into the notes here. The first thing I wrote down was episode 1. This did replay some of the stuff from the first episode, where, you know, it shows Watson coming home from war, and it shows him, you know, meeting up with his friend, and then them going to meet Sherlock in the morgue, where he is beating a corpse. That is pretty clever to have that, and have that be our introduction, and then to jump from there to where we are in the actual Series 2 after Series 3. Which now I do kind of want to see, like... Oh gosh, sorry. I do kind of want to see the episodes that we've had, but it's in the 1800s, you know? I do kind of want that. I'm trying to think, like, would there be anything that would be too difficult to put in the 1800s? I'm not quite sure. No, I don't think so. So, yeah, that was pretty great, you know? And again, you know, it kind of just seems like, well, it's going to be, we're just doing this as a special episode in 1895, and it's its own thing. It's not a part of where we are. But then they start dropping, you know, the stuff about Moriarty. They drop all the stuff about Moriarty being back. And it's like, okay, so we are still in canon, you know? This is still after Sherlock and Watson dealt with Magnuson. But then they go even further with that, so my eyes are tired. It's the end of the day, so I wrote down Bride, the Abominable Bride / Ghost. An interesting idea for this, you know, this bride that seems to have come back to life. I thought that was really interesting. And, you know, that does tie into Moriarty being alive, supposedly. I did like that, and, you know, watching them go back and forth on if this really is a ghost or not, you know? Going back and forth, especially with Watson going back and forth, I just enjoyed that. I think I just poked my eye just completely. Ow. Oh, ow. You know, there's, you know, I rubbed my eyes, but I think I actually, like, accidentally got under my eyelid and poked my eye. Ow. Alright. I know, now I'm just rubbing it. Which, does that help? Well, it kind of does. Alrighty. So, the bride. I like that setup, too, with you know, Lestrade coming in, Lestrade and his mutton chops, and coming in and talking about the case, and, like, showing them in the living room, but it's on the street, and them watching it, you know? I thought that was very clever. Let's see. Oh, I wrote down Hooper. Molly Hooper. So, I like that in Sherlock's mind, like, you know, because he has to keep all the characters there. You know, he has to keep all the characters there. So he imagines Molly, because he doesn't want to deal with Anderson. So he imagines Molly, who has disguised herself as a man in order to be the head of the morgue. That is hilarious. I really do like that one. That's very clever, you know? Which, that's the thing, you know, this is all, you know, how Sherlock perceives it. Which is why at some points, you know, they're a bit, like, it's a bit corny, you know? Or, like, maybe it's a little too, I don't know the word for it, but, like, with, you know, with Watson, particularly Watson, being so, like, you know, against women's rights and everything, and, yeah, twirl my mustache and stuff. I thought that, you know, because that's all from Sherlock's perspective. It's like, well, he has to make this realistic, so he imagines that Watson would be, you know, bigoted, I guess? I don't know the word for it, but he wouldn't, you know, he'd be insensitive, I guess, towards, you know, women's rights and stuff like that, which is really funny. So, it's just interesting because it's all from Sherlock's mind, and this is how he perceives all of them, basically. I wrote down texts. Instead of texts, they had telegrams, but they still filmed it like they get a telegram, and it still shows up on screen the same way. I thought that was really funny. Just watching the different various ways they translate what we know from Sherlock into this episode is just amazing. So, oh yeah, Mycroft. He imagined Mycroft as being fat. I don't understand that. Because again, this is all within his head, you know? He has to adapt all the people that he knows into this story he's created, you know? Into this story and this, you know, this investigation that he's created. So he imagines his brother as being so fat and, don't mind the dog. Someone's playing with him, so he's barking. And so he imagines his brother as being fat and, you know, gambling with his life and stuff like that, which is really, really odd. I don't quite understand why he imagines Mycroft like that, but it was funny. I still liked it. I wrote down Eustace Carmichael, who I see on here. I don't think that's the same guy. I thought he looked like Alistair Thorne, but I can't really tell. I'm gonna go to IMDb real quick. Do I? Okay. No, I don't think that's the same guy. No, it's not. Alright. Well, never mind. I thought he might be... I thought he might have been Alistair Thorne, but he didn't look quite right, so I guess he's not. Alright. So yeah, Eustace Carmichael. That was an interesting part of that with... that was an interesting part with, you know, them trying to figure out, you know, they're trying to prevent his murder and everything, and trying to basically find the ghost and stuff. And, you know, with everything's like, you know, it looked like they saw a ghost, but it was actually a reflection. I thought that was pretty clever, actually. And then going through, and they turned out not to be able to save him, which was pretty interesting. And then it having, you know, Miss Me on there. It had the note, which is from Moriarty. Which, that's the thing, that's when this sort of, I don't want to say falls apart, but that's when you start getting more into, you know, the fact that this is all, you know, this is sort of a, I guess, a meta investigation. It's all in Sherlock's head, you know? So, I don't know why that dog is barking to high heaven. Oh my gosh. And he is playing. Don't you worry about that. He's probably having a great time, too. But that dog is barking to high heaven out there. Okay, anyway. So, yeah. So, Did You Miss Me? Which, you know, it's interesting, you know, at the beginning of this video, I actually watched that last little thing where he's like, "You miss me?" And then, you know, that was part of the recap that we had at the beginning, which was pretty cool. Which I did like that, too. It's like, alternatively, it's like, oh, yeah, let's alternatively go. It's like, that's the thing, is basically, it's all supposed to be the same thing, except... It's all supposed to be the same, except they didn't have... It was all supposed to be the same canon, except it was in the 1800s. And now, I don't think, the more I think about it, I don't think Magnuson had happened here, because Watson didn't really know about Mary, you know? He really didn't know about all the stuff with Mary, you know? They were saying, it's like, oh, she knows a lot for a nurse, you know? So, I think it's everything up to Magnuson, basically. So, and then, alright, whatever. And then, what they do is, what Sherlock does is, instead of going past Magnuson's story to where Sherlock gets exiled, he swaps it out for the case of the Abominable Bride. So, and then we get the reveal that this is all in his mind palace. Again, that's brilliant. So basically in the time it takes from when he gets the call that Moriarty is back to when they get on the plane to talk to him, he goes into his mind palace because, like, okay, Moriarty is back, even though he, blew his brains out. And so he goes into his mind palace because he remembers the case of Amelia Ricoletti, where she did the same thing. She was dead, she blew her brains out, but she came back. And so he goes into his mind palace in order to solve that case, basically, to try to figure out Moriarty. That is incredibly clever. And, it's a good way of being like, hey, we're going to actually go back to when Sherlock Holmes is supposed to take place, So having this, because I was thinking like, okay, maybe this will just be, sort of, it's just a one-off special, it's kind of in canon, but it's its own thing. In the next episode, we'll get back to, the more important issues. But then it's like, no. We're working on that right now. We're continuing the story right now, but we are also in 1895. So, I love that. I wrote down the list. So basically, when something big like this happens, Sherlock will take specific drugs in order to basically enhance his mind so he can think better, which is why he was able to do all this, within like 5 minutes. And what he always, before he does this, he writes out a complete list of the drugs that he uses, and he gives it to Mycroft. Very interesting. That is very interesting. So he has to take these drugs in order to basically expand his mind, in order to do something like this, even in his mind palace. Because that's the thing, is that, last episode we did see him use his mind palace, and in 3 seconds he was able to do a lot, but that was just 3 seconds. You give him 5 minutes in his mind palace, yeah, he should be able to do this, He should be able to do this, but he still has to expand his mind, basically. I wrote down the suffragettes. That was pretty cool, actually. That the whole thing about this was, it tied into being, 1895, and John being like, oh, women need the right to vote, poppycock, or whatever. I mean, he wasn't quite so about it, but he was, he was doing all that stuff, so. I honestly, I don't need to do this. I have a mustache. It's not as fanciful as John's, but my voice is going. It is the end of the day. It's the last video of the day, so. And before this, I recorded 4 episodes of Steven Universe Future, so. It's been an interesting day. But yeah, so the whole point of this was to create this ghost in order to bring justice to horrible men. Kind of cool, actually, It's like a badass vigilante, basically. That is pretty cool. I like that, and it's not, at first I was like, what is this weird cult they've stumbled upon? But it's not really a cult. That's just kind of how Sherlock's mind perceived it. But it was just all these suffragettes, He said that this army of women, basically. That was incredibly clever. I really did like that. And they said that the way they did this was that they did a fake body with Ricoletti. They did a fake body, swapped it in the morgue, and then, after she killed her husband, swapped it, basically killed her because she was going to die anyway, killed her, put her actual dead body in the morgue, and then other women would then take up the mantle of Amelia Ricoletti in order to bring justice on those. And the first person to do that was Lady Carmichael. That is all incredibly clever. But that doesn't exactly help with Moriarty. It doesn't exactly help with Moriarty. And we had the mind fight where, Sherlock had to wake up, and so he fought Moriarty. And then Dr. Watson comes in and helps save the day, which was pretty cool. And I like him, kind of breaking the fourth wall within the actual show's fourth wall, which was pretty cool. And realizing, that this whole thing is a story. I really did like that. And then after that, we see... Okay, so the whole thing with Moriarty that we set up last episode, and we've been going through this episode to figure out. Moriarty is not alive, but he is still doing things, basically. Moriarty is not alive, but basically he has contingency plans. He had plans for things to keep happening even after he died. That is incredibly clever, actually. And I like that idea that it's like, these are basically the remnants, It's not some weird thing. It's like, oh, he's really alive. Here he is. He's back. And it's like, no, these are all contingency plans. These are all, ways for him to keep doing things even though he's dead. That is really, really clever. I really enjoy that. And I really enjoyed this episode as my voice cracks. Good Lord. I really enjoyed this episode. Very, very clever. Very brilliant, to weave in, it's like, I feel like they were like, you know what, let's have an episode set in the 1800s, an actual Sherlock episode. And then they were like, all right, but let's also tie it in to what we have set up in the last episode, So that is incredibly clever. I'm very impressed by this episode. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I am very curious to get into the final 3 episodes and see what the hell are we doing? What are Moriarty's contingency plans? Yeah, that's pretty much that. I'm excited to get into the final season. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Sherlock reactions, you can click on the playlist, and you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon or follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.